How's everyone doing? My name is Daniel Francis. And in this interview, I'm going to be interviewing, or this live, whatever you want to call it, with Ashely-Ann, who is a good friend of mine. And for a lot of people who are in the group on Facebook, or, this will most likely go on YouTube as well. What I'm all about is how to level up our ability to communicate, how to become a more effective, more articulate speaker as a whole. That's what I do as a coach, is I help people unlock their ability to speak better, because I'm a big believer in communication as a golden thread to linking you with your dreams and goals, to really fulfilling your desires in life. And if you don't know how to communicate your words, then you're in trouble. Now, Ashely-Ann, who's a good friend of mine, we've known each other for what? I would say about 7 years.
Yeah.
Holy smokes. We met back in our earlier 20s, and now kind of life has kind of flown by, and we found our, if you want to say it, our niche or our passion or our purpose. And I'm super excited because in this interview, we're really going to be talking about storytelling and how to be an effective storyteller. And I know if you are someone who stutters, something that's really important to you if you stutter is being able to tell a story in front of your family or friends or colleagues. Or if you're someone who's a public speaker and you want to learn how to, really tell solid stories, because it's not about, the facts. It's really about how you sell it and via stories and examples. So before Ashely says a single word, I'm going to introduce her. So Ashely is an author. She's a storyteller, entrepreneur, and podcast host who specializes in turning your experience into a powerful message or business. Interesting. In 2020, she became a book coach and soon after the co-founder of the Studio Press. The Studio Press is a growing agency that helps coaches, entrepreneurs, and speakers not only write memoirs and self-help books, but also market their book to become bestsellers. Wicked. The team is comprised of authors, designers, coaches, and editors that help aspiring authors navigate the writing and self-publishing journey. Since launching the Studio Press and its founders have been featured on Yahoo Finance Top 10 Book Coaches to Watch in 2021 and have created their own co-author book series, Collective Voices, which provides aspiring authors a platform to enter the world of storytelling and publishing. So without further ado, Ashely, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me, Daniel. I'm so excited. I always love chatting with you.
Yes. So Ashely, to kind of get the ball rolling, in your own words, what does storytelling mean to you, and why is it so vital for people to learn this skill?
Yeah, storytelling is really about you communicating your experiences. Like that's what it's about. It's about communicating your experiences, your thoughts, your ideas, all of that. And it's what I found in my own experience is that even just with storytelling, it is the kind of natural way to be able to sell yourself, sell whatever it is that you have going on. What I found just in conversation is that people gravitate towards the story. If you're talking at people and telling them what they should do this, do that, buy this, buy that, they don't really connect to that. They don't resonate with that. Whereas if you're kind of moving in a story, it is number one, memorable. Like that's what people remember is the story. You can give them facts all day long, but the moment you tie in a story, they're going to remember it for years to come.
Facts tell, stories sell.
Yes, exactly.
Cool. So give me an example. I don't know if you've ever been asked this question, but give me an example of a bad story and give me an example of what makes a good story.
Ooh, so a specific example, oh my goodness, that's hard for me to think about on the spot, but like the basis of it is coming from a place of ego. And what that really means is I did this and I did that, and this is the success that I had, and this is the transformation that I had, and now I'm here. Like there's so much I in it, which yes, storytelling includes your own personal story, but if you're not connecting back to the audience, and if you're not connecting back and using the language of you instead, people are going to disconnect because they're going to feel like you're just talking about yourself. You just want to be seen and heard, which is true, but that's for you to just fulfill your own ego. So that's why a very simple thing that you can do to transform your storytelling is switching up the use of I and changing that to you, because you'll start to really connect with your audience, or even using the word we. It brings us all together and creates less of a separation between you and your audience.
Interesting. Interesting. So, very interesting. That's
Mhm.
awesome. So basically what you're saying is someone who's a bad storyteller usually just focuses on, I did this and I'm this amazing person.
Yeah.
Whereas a great storyteller, I'm guessing, ties it into like a lesson that you could benefit, like the audience can benefit from. And I'm
Ex-
like, not just talking about me, but I'm talking about how this story could benefit you. And
mhm.
that's why is that really what you're getting at?
Exactly. And that's why we love to look at a kind of like a three-part formula. So what that looks like is starting off with the backstory. So that kind of looks like where you were. So for example, if I'm going to use myself an example, when I was in high school, I was very shy. I had no self-esteem. I couldn't even speak in front of a group of 5 people. And then I found network marketing. So now I'm transitioning. So the first part of the formula is your backstory. And then you
Mhm.
kind of want to tie in, okay, so what was the transformation? So that might look like something that you read, an experience that you had, something that you did. It's going to be something really tangible. So for me, that was network marketing, which introduced me into personal development, and ultimately was the first moment that I started public speaking. And naturally, what ended up happening is, because I went into network marketing, got outside of my comfort zone, like these are different things that you can tie in. I ended up putting myself into a public speaking competition. And that evening, the night that I had that competition, I fell in love with storytelling, and I saw the impact that storytelling had. Like, this is just a way that you can kind of bridge it very simply and naturally. So once you kind of figure it out, okay, what is my message? That's what you want to end off with. You want to leave people with, what's the takeaway that you want them to get from their story. You can't just expect people to know. You have to tell them, like, if this is what, I want them to walk away with the power of storytelling, you got to say it. This is you got to like spell it out blankly for people. And that's why the kind of last part of this 3 part is that takeaway, is that lesson.
Mhm. Now, I want to ask you this, and I kind of want to bring you back to like the earlier Ashley.
Oh.
Um, what do you do in situations where you just feel like your audience doesn't really care about your story? Like, I feel like now, you're a confident speaker, you know yourself, you're sure of your words, you have success. Um, there's a lot of people that I work with where it's like people, like they'll stutter and and they'll stammer and they'll get, their mind will go blank, and then people they get like the confused look from the audience or from the person that they're talking to. What do you do in these situations? How did you go from did you ever experience that before, or is like people don't even want to hear what you have to say, or people don't really like you can see in their eyes they don't really care that you're telling them a story,
Yeah.
to
I think that's
becoming.
part of like, it's part of like learning too, right? Like, you might have a speech, or you might be talking to someone, you might be sharing something and it doesn't connect, and that's okay. That's a lesson learned. I've had it many times. I remember being in this competition, another speaking competition, and I remember being the first on stage. And apparently, I have this thing with always going first or last. And I was going first, and my speech was very like, the word that I'm going to use is like serious. It was just like, it was very heartfelt. Whereas everybody who came after me had humor. Humor is like a different, when you add humor into a story, people just really enjoy it. So I was watching one person after another, and I was like, oh God, like this is just not going well. And then what happened was, we even had judges and all this stuff. And even though I didn't win, nothing like that, I never really go into competitions with this piece of, oh, I want to win. It's more of just like challenging myself, getting myself out of my comfort zone, and like connecting with one person. But nonetheless, what happened was, there was still going to be like a judge's, it's like a judge's choice award. So like they choose someone not necessarily has to be someone who's in top 3, just anyone out of the speakers. And his name was Mark Bowden, and he's like a very well-known like speaker and body language expert. And he
Mm.
chose me as the judge's choice. And I was like, what just happened? And then what happened afterwards too was having one person, I will never forget, one person who came up to me after that the event ended and thanked me, like thanked me for what I had shared and all of that. And that's what it takes. That's what matters. I think what happens is we get so caught up in the amount of people, like we get so caught up in, I want to impact 100 people or thousands of people. Like we're in social media, we want to go viral, but that's where we really get tripped up because we're so focused on so many people that we end up speaking to nobody.
Mm.
And that's why whenever I think about a speech, whenever I think about, even now as I prepare for my podcast, I'm like, who am I doing this for? And if I close my eyes, I can picture 3 people. And that's who I'm going to speak to. And that's who I'm going to focus on. And when you do that, I found in my own experience, you have much more of an impact because you're just speaking to one person and you stop focusing on this number of, I need to reach everybody, because you end up speaking to nobody.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you know what, ultimately, there's going to be points where you might feel like you're not resonating, but know that that's not necessarily true. Just because someone might not come up to you or you might not get that direct validation, you have to give that validation to yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And that might not be, oh, this was an incredible story, and the value that you're placing on that is the amount of people that tell you it was a good speech. It should be more coming from yourself. Wow, I'm so proud of myself for sharing something that was so vulnerable. And you know what? I can accredit that I did a really good job in that. You know, we're always looking for this external, and I think we really need to focus on like giving ourselves our own validation.
Mm-hmm. I don't know if you remember. I just remember that one time where I gave a speech in Vima, and then everyone came up and clapped, and I cried on stage. Do you remember that?
I don't.
Oh my God! Remember, I think that was the first time we actually met, where I talked about my life and how I was depressed and
Yeah.
in university.
Oh my
Really?
goodness.
Hey, this was like, I forget where this was. This was like a while ago. I mean, we're talking about like 7 years ago. And I remember I had people like line up after it. I'm pretty sure you were one of them. Um, and it's just so long ago. Eh? It's
Yeah.
crazy. But like it was very hard for me to give that speech. This was, I don't know where it was. It was like I think it was like what's it called again? The end of month, RRA. Oh my
Yeah.
God.
Oh my goodness. Why does this feel like a lifetime ago?
This is like only 5 or 6. No, this is like 7 years ago. What's it called? End of month, RA. Oh my God. Anyway,
Yeah.
this will obviously come to us. We have not blocked out this time, but we haven't given too much energy and time to it.
Yeah.
But I remember like I shared this speech of me and kind of like what I was going through and how I was able to reach success in the network marketing company too. And it was crazy. And I think times like that gave me the confidence boost to just like hold nothing back. And
Yeah.
I started to believe in my voice, because I think that's what a lot of people, they fear, especially that. I think this is why public speaking is one of the biggest fears people have, is because they're scared they're going to get judged, or they're scared like people are not going to accept them.
Mhm.
And I think the act of what you just did, actually just going up there and just being who you are, it was like that confidence boost that allowed you to even grow the company that you have right now. I think it all stems from these little wins that you have across life.
Yes. And that's why I'm such a big believer that every single experience that you've had is a puzzle piece to like your whole entire life. Um, and something that you reminded me of as you were talking about this, because I can imagine how scary it was to be that vulnerable,
Hmm.
to let people in that deep, like sharing something, you know, the what you had gone through. Um, and that's what I think is the hardest part, is the vulnerability.
Mm.
We're so afraid of being vulnerable, and right now I've been really listening to a lot of Brene Brown. She talks about vulnerability. She talks about shame. And it's just so beautiful that we all experience vulnerability. Like we all experience that like scary feeling. Um, but it is in fact the things that we're so afraid of sharing are the things that resonate so much more with people.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we try and share and we try and stay surface level because we want to stay safe. Whether it is like we don't want to experience that shame, we don't want to experience that judgment.
Mm-hmm.
But when we like just like strip everything back and we are that honest and we are that honest,
Mm-hmm.
it allows people in and allows people to connect.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why like surface level in storytelling is not going to get you anywhere. There really does have to be some kind of vulnerability. And a lot of the greatest stories come from failures. And that is vulnerable to share something. Like we don't like saying, oh, you know, we failed, but really it's a matter of you learned something.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but some of the greatest stories come from those moments that you learned something, that you quote unquote failed.
Yeah, and I think this is what I can tell even a lot of people listening to right now. It's like if you are just because a good chunk not the whole audience, but a good chunk of people, there's like that social anxiety because they're scared of like showing flaws. Like it's
Yep.
a bad thing. Like I stutter. Like I remember I lived life like that for so long. So I'm like, I didn't want someone to hear me stutter. Like there would be a song on the radio talking about stuttering. I think it's by Mariana's Trench.
Wow.
I don't even know. No, I think it's
Yes,
right. Heard that
it
song?
is Mariana's Trench. Yeah.
I couldn't listen to it. So if I was in a car and that song was playing, I would change the channel or I would turn it off because I'm like I didn't want to hear it. You know, and what happens is you live this life where there's like a boogeyman in the closet and you don't
Mhm.
want to confront it. You don't want to see it.
Yeah.
And you know, for a lot of people that want to be a great speaker, it's like the thing you don't want to do is exactly how you're going to overcome it. And
Yes.
being
Yes.
vulnerable of any challenge that you're going through, being vulnerable of a stutter or speaking up or you getting embarrassed, like that's how you own it. That's what
Yes.
makes a great storyteller.
Yeah.
You know, it's not like, look at me, look how great I am. And I remember like, even like back in high school, where it's like, I wanted to like tell a story because that's what you know, obviously in my head at the time, that's what the cool kids did. They were the guys who would sit in the group and they would like share
Yeah.
a story and then we would all laugh and be like, oh, wow, you know, and I wanted that. And every time I tried to do that, I would just like, I would stop myself midway and I'm like, I don't even know what I'm talking about here. So I was put
Mhm.
on this fake persona. I
Yep.
wasn't, or when I would say something, they didn't get it because they
Yeah.
could feel the disingenuous within me, if that's even the right way to say it.
Yes.
But I was not being authentic.
Exactly.
And I think this is one of the biggest lessons, especially if you want to be a great storyteller. It's like taking the failures, taking the things that embarrass the hell out of you, like what I just did right there with the Mariana's Trench song,
Yep.
and owning it. That's
Yeah.
actually how you get fulfillment and happiness. Um,
Exactly. And
so
you know, that reminds me of too is you know, I think about the book that I wrote, my first book, and it really wasn't as much as I wanted people like the outcome to be people to experience more happiness because that was my journey. Like I really felt like I've gotten to this place where, you know, at such a young age, I'm experiencing happiness. Yes, there's going to be like little stressors, but you know how to move through it. But ultimately, that entire book and writing it was about me owning, fully embracing my story.
mhm,
Like every single piece, like I went on this very intentional journey. And it was because of like opening up my mind to personal development to face almost like the things that I felt like I had like unsettled, like unfinished business with. I wanted to face it all head on. So
mhm,
what that looked like, I know, just to give an example, is like, you know, sometimes you have like relationships from your past, like with a significant other, and it just like didn't end well and it's like lingering. Oh, I like went out of my way, sent messages, apologizing, taking responsibility just to clean slate, let it go. But it's that fully embracing, fully owning
Mhm.
from the pitfalls in your life, the successes, like everything. That is like truly living in your like authentic power.
Mhm.
And no one can take that away from you. No
Mhm.
one can judge you when you fully own and embrace who you are and what you've gone through. No one can take that away from you.
Mhm. And that's where confidence comes from. Like people like, I wish I can just have the confidence. Like, dude, there isn't a pill. Like this is unfortunately, this is what you need to do to have that elephant skin, if you want to call it, or that tough skin,
Mhm.
where nothing really bothers you.
It's work.
Um, because if you confront the thing that bothers you, it doesn't bother you anymore.
Exactly. That's exactly
You know
it.
what I mean?
Yeah. And the less scary that it gets when you continue to confront it. Like there's no, like you said, there's no secret pill. The secret is taking action. The
Mhm.
thing that scares you the most,
Yeah.
take action on it.
Yeah.
You know, public speaking was the thing that scared me the most. Like I avoided it like the plague in high
Yeah.
school and
Yeah.
even in college. But then what happened was I was like, no, I gotta do this. I have
Mhm.
to do this. And then what starts to happen is it becomes bigger than you. It becomes more than just, oh, I'm so scared, because then you end up start thinking about, well, who in this audience really needs to hear this message that I have, like that I have to share.
Yeah.
It starts to flip, but
Yeah.
at first, I feel like it does need to be a little selfish, where
Mhm.
you're just doing it for yourself to overcome your own challenges and face
Mhm.
those like, scary little demons that you have.
Man, don't you miss like I'm just like getting like a wave right now because I joined Vima back in like 2013 around this time. I
Yep.
miss that wave of like that initial excitement of like about to speak in front of people or
Yeah.
it's just you know what I'm talking about? Or like your first couple events
Yeah.
that you go
For me,
to.
it wasn't excitement. Well, I don't think it was excitement. I was like painfully scared. I'm
Yeah,
just kidding.
but you did those things because you were actually excited about it though. Like you wouldn't have
Yeah,
joined if that was the case,
that's
right?
so true. Exactly.
Like you were doing it, but it's like that young, like me and you will talk right now and there's like barely any like fear. Like, okay, what are we talking about? Yo, send me the bio. Okay, let's do it. Like there's nothing, you know what I mean? Like there's nothing
Yep.
there.
Yep.
It's like we haven't prepared this interview. It was, I don't want to say last minute, but it was just like, there's no preparation. It's like, what up? Let's just chat. Maybe we'll find something cool about this.
Exactly.
Um, and I hope for everyone, watching this right now, that's where you will get to one day. But you
Mhm.
gotta put in the work. You
Mhm.
gotta handle the boogeyman in the closet. Um,
Yeah.
so that's why I'm a big, that's why, we can even talk about coaching. That's why like I'm like ruthless about this because both of us have had coaches.
Yeah.
It's like both of us has paid for coaching.
Yeah.
I know I have
Me too.
like thousands upon thousands of dollars. And it's like, I get it. Like we're coaches. So it's like, you're just talking about coaching because you guys are coaches. I get that. I get that, dude. Okay. Sure. Put that away.
Yeah. Let's put that
Next.
aside.
Okay. But I want you to get that. Like this is, you know, like for example, let's take public speaking or
Mhm.
you want to become a great storyteller. It's like, sure, you can read every single book about it, but you got to take action. You got to be vulnerable about it. But if no one's around you holding you accountable and there's no incentive for that person holding you accountable, it doesn't matter.
Mhm.
Like, you know what I mean? Like you
Yeah.
can't
And
expect your best friend to, sorry, you can't expect your best friend to hold you accountable or, yeah, he just, or she's just going to hold me accountable to, like, there's no incentive.
no.
That's why I've paid for coaching. That's why at 28 years old, I've accomplished, I would say, more than most 50-year-olds.
Yeah.
That's why I coach 50 plus year olds because, so I
Absolutely.
want you like, anyway, if you want to kind of add to that, because I really believe to become great at anything you do in life, like you need people that are incentivized to
Yes.
hold your ass accountable. Anyway, Ashley.
Absolutely. And there's tough love. There's the tough love aspect of it, because if you're just looking to your friend or your mother or your sibling to hold you accountable when you're like, oh, I didn't follow through, they're just gonna be like, oh, it's okay. Just get it next
You
time.
got this next time.
And then that keeps happening week after week, month after month, year after year, and you're getting nowhere. And that's why, like, the purpose of having a coach is, and I love this, is to collapse those timelines. So what might take you 5 years could take you a year.
Mhm.
Like that's how dramatic they'll be able to collapse those
6
timelines.
months.
Yeah, because they've done it. They've been there and they know how to walk you through it. So that level of tough love is so important. The other side of it, and one thing that I know even for myself, like it's vulnerable to ask people for feedback. I know for me, when I was in school, I would never let anyone read any essay that I wrote, anything. I would just be like, okay, I'm done, hand it in, that's it. So like as we take people through, especially editing, like there is something super vulnerable for someone to read your writing.
Oh God.
It's scary, but we can focus on that. We can focus on that aspect of how scary it is and how vulnerable it is, or we can look at the other side and say, this person's going to help me grow as a writer. They're going to help me create the best book or whatever it is that you're doing. And that's the same thing for having someone who's going to teach you how to public speak. They're going to be that person who's going to give you feedback to adjust, to become better. But if you're not receiving that, then you're missing out. You're missing out on becoming the absolute best that you can be.
Yeah. I mean, I would love to ask you, let's look at your timeline, right?
Mhm.
Give me some coaches, or give me, it can be coaches, it could be mentors, it could be influential leaders. Could you give some names? Could you give like a couple?
Oh, yeah. Like in terms of coaches that I've worked with?
Yeah. Like let's start from early Ashely-Ann to even to this day.
Oh my goodness. So very first, I mean, you know who they are from Vima, like absolute my very first were Fabiana and Julie. Like they were the ones that helped me, and Stelios, they all really helped me find, like start to find my confidence, start to like really see things in a different way and see myself in a different way. They were like the first coaches that I would ever classify and have.
Mhm.
And then some other coaches that I've had, one was Carol. Her name is Carol Schulte, and she really helped me like take that level of confidence to this next level, like really find purpose in what I was doing. And then I would say, you know, my most recent was Stephanie Joanne, who helped me with my business. So
Mm.
there's going to be coaches that you have in so many different areas of
Yeah,
your
but
life.
Ashley, can't you just learn all the material on YouTube, or just
Yeah, right.
No, I get this all the time. Like, what is the
Yeah.
difference? Like, why can't I just go on YouTube and just go read a bunch of books, or watch a bunch of videos? Like,
It's
why pay? Like, did you pay for this, or was this all for free?
absolutely.
Yeah. So,
No, of course.
like, why would you spend your hard-earned money on these people when you can just learn it all on YouTube?
I mean, ultimately, I don't think you're not going to get everything. Like so I look at it, I look at this now with when I decided that I was going to write my book. Okay. I could have easily spent hours, and I did. I tried spending hours and hours and hours looking at self publishing. And I was like, I don't know, like nothing's giving me a clear cut way. Like I'm still confused. I don't know what the hell to do.
Mm.
And so I decided, I was like, you know what? I'm going to find a local publisher. And that's what I did. And she took me through the steps. I didn't have to worry about it. I didn't have to worry about this came next, because I knew she had it all laid out for me. I was focusing on the book. I was focusing on the writing. And then when I was finished, she told me what came next. And then when I was done, she told me what came next.
Yeah.
That's why, you know, I could have, if I never hired a publisher, it would have been years before I even published my book. Whereas I wrote my book in 3 months because I had that accountability, and I published it in the same year. So January was the decision. The book was written March, April, May, and I published it September, all 2017.
Wow. Wow. And yeah, it's crazy. So and people spend years to even just try to write the book.
People spend years trying to start, then people spend years holding it on their computer. and never hitting publish, never doing that, never taking that next step. It always reminds me of, there was a story that was going on around a lot when we were in Vima about the graveyard. You remember that story?
Tell us. Of course I do, but tell us.
I can't remember it like perfectly, but I just like the gist of the story, and the purpose of it is that the most expensive place people would say is what? I can't remember the
Like
thoughts, but
Dubai or
yes.
Vegas, or I don't know if it's Vegas, but yeah.
Yeah. But like there's, if you ask what are the most expensive places in the world, people would hand up, no, the most expensive is the graveyard, because that's where there's so many unborn like ideas, dreams, all of these different things. And I
Mm,
think about that, and I think about people who never take that step
mhm.
because there's so much fear. And I was reading this book actually a couple months ago, incredible book. It's by a man named David Goggins. It's called Can't Hurt Me. I don't know if you've read it. It is such an incredible book, but there's this one line that he talks about. He talks about having so much fear. And this is most people. Sometimes we're so focused on the fear of failure that we don't even try.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah,
We never know what can happen.
like I think a lot of people like they forget to understand, like we all got it was so funny. I was talking to Rachel this morning, like we're all slowly dying. Like I know that sounds super negative to
No,
say,
it's not. That's real.
but like you gotta understand, like everyone has a ticking time clock. Like, you know what I mean? Like you can replace money.
Mhm.
I think a lot of people need to get educated about money, but you can't add time. You can't rejuvenate time.
Yes.
And I think a lot of people, they live in this fear of they really want to do something. They really want to write their first book. They really want to overcome their stutter. They really want to get fit. And unfortunately, if you ask a lot of people, dude, you got to spend some money to get
Yep.
that result.
Yep.
Like I understand you could go the hard way and you
Mhm.
could maybe spend years and years trying to figure it out. Like I know for
Yep.
myself, and when I was trying to lose weight, I would spend years and years and years trying to figure it out. I thought I was doing everything right. I did not know eating breaded chicken was bad. I thought just eating chicken was good. But I was never losing weight until I got a personal trainer. And you would say, well,
Yep.
Daniel, that's obvious. I get that, but I didn't know that.
Mhm.
There was all these little things that I was doing wrong.
Yep.
I didn't like eating at night. I didn't know that. I didn't know I had to be consistent, not just a couple days of the week, but always,
Yep.
and it's like, I went on this idea of losing weight for, I would say 7 years. And
Mhm.
my body stayed the same way. But then I got
Exactly.
myself a personal trainer. And the next thing you know, he held me accountable. He rewired the thoughts.
Yep.
And that saved me. I got fit within like 4 months working with him, like
Mhm.
shedding years and years of habitual patterns and habitual ways of me doing something, and like my genetics
Yeah.
in a couple months,
It's wild.
but
You
that
know?
came from like, this is my hard-earned cash. I better figure this out. And I think a lot
Yeah.
of people, it's like they want something, but they're
Mhm.
not willing to get out of their own head.
Mhm.
And I think I've just been having so many calls like this. Not so many calls. I've had some people who are like, just dude, fix me. Let's go.
I know.
And I love that.
Yep.
But I think there's a lot of people and they get stuck for years. And it
And it breaks my heart.
pains me. Like
Breaks
it
my heart.
actually pains me when someone's like, I don't want to do this because whatever. I'm like, oh my God,
I
my
know.
heart.
And the thing is, what I've realized, and even just looking at myself, it's not about the money. It has nothing to do with the money. We say money as surface level, but if we go deeper and if we ask ourselves like what's really going on, and this is where when you become so self-aware and you practice self-awareness, oh my goodness, the reflection that happens and the way that you can change your life is incredible. But it's not about the money, because it ends up being actually belief in themselves, that fear of change, like what will happen
Mhm.
if this actually does work, what will actually happen. Like I remember for me when I hired my business coach, and hiring a business coach, there's a financial investment in it, right? And I was afraid because I had invested in people in the past, and it kind of like it just didn't go the way as planned. right? So there is that level of fear. Um, and the thing is the reason that I had so much success with that business coach, she really helped me launch like my coaching program. And I, in my first initial launch, had 7 clients sign up. And the reason for that, I was so incredibly determined and ready.
Mm.
Like it was a complete switch. Like there was literally a switch that went off, and I was like, I'm done.
Mm-hmm.
And when we get to that point, sometimes unfortunately that's sad that we have to get to that point, but that, it really does take belief in ourselves
Yeah.
to make that investment.
Yeah.
And that's why I think it's not about the money ever. It's so much deeper than that.
Yeah, and I get it. If you ever heard of the example of the dog on the nail, and the dog's always like, "Woo, woo," and there's like 2 people walking by, and then one guy goes, "Why is that dog keep on like, woo," like he's
Yeah.
on like he's in pain. He's like, "Well, he's lying on a nail." And then, the other guy goes, "Well, why doesn't he just get up from the nail?" And then the other guy goes, "Well, it isn't hurting him that much, so he just keeps lying on it." And then the
Yeah.
dog never gets up, and the dog is constantly in pain, but it doesn't hurt him that much. I think
Yeah.
what you're kind of getting at, or maybe in your life and my life, kind of hit a point where you're like, enough's enough. Like, and I think and I hope we inspire you. Like this is not meant to be a pitch to come work with us. Like these are life principles that we live by. Like take the
Yeah.
action. Like this could be applied. Like go
Mhm.
ask that girl out. Go ask that guy out. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know, like, go do something that scares you, because I'm telling you, this is
Whatever
where
it is that you want to do.
your life opens up. And like, we could talk about, this is why it applies to everything, because you can apply it to stuttering. Get out of your way and
Yeah.
maybe go give a speech with a stutter. This could be applied with storytelling, like go try to tell a story on stage or go write your first book. But like there's
Mhm.
fundamental principles that you got to live by, which is
Yeah.
stop talking about it and take action, whether
Yeah.
it's money, whether it's time, whether it's energy.
Exactly.
And I think that's where
I
life
think
actually
about,
changes.
yeah, one of the things that for me in my life, I mean, I look at it as this is going to sound really strange to say this as a blessing, but very early on in life, I learned how precious life is. Like because I've lost people. I've lost a lot of people in my life who are very close to me, and that has given me the gift of recognizing how precious like this lifetime is that we're here. And
Mhm.
that's why, at such a young age, I am like doing the things because I'm like, I don't know, like you just don't know. Like one day's not the day of the week, right? Like you just never know what's going to happen tomorrow. So why wait? And if you don't, I mean, I feel it very deeply, but the other way that you can kind of access this and kind of tap into those emotions is asking yourself that if whatever it is that you want to do. So let's say it's hiring you to help you overcome the stutter. Like let's say it's hiring Daniel to help you overcome the stutter, or to become a better speaker, or you want to write a book, or you want to hire a coach to lose weight. Whatever that is, the thing that it is for you right now, ask yourself, will you regret not doing it in this lifetime? And if the answer is yes, you have to do something about it.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. You get to a point where you're like, you'll figure it out.
Yep.
And that's why it's never about the money. Like, dude, if you want something, you will figure it out. You'll find a way. There's always a way.
There's
Like,
always a way.
dude, if like, was this in Vima? Because this is like pretty dark. But it's like, I forget who told me, but it's like if someone had a gun to your head and said, I'd kill your family. But
Yes,
I'd kill
these
your
are the
family.
things that
If it's so messed up. But it's like I had a gun to your head and you're like, you got to make $1 million in 2 years, or I'm gonna kill your whole entire family. Would you figure it out? What did you say,
yeah.
Ashley?
Of course. Of course you would figure it out.
You
Of
know?
course. And that's why even too, like with me, I think about this when I was writing my book. I was working for a nonprofit organization at the time. I was working full time while I wanted to like do this book. And somehow, whenever I wanted to do something and my mind was set that I was doing it, the money always came.
Yeah.
It always came. When I wanted to go to Nicaragua to volunteer abroad, I said, how am I going to do this? I don't have the money. It was there. It was there.
Showed up.
It is like, I'm telling you, when you really have like that, and this is not about like being like religious or anything like that. It is just this belief that when you say that you want something and you desire it, the universe will conspire to make it happen.
Yeah.
It will happen.
Yeah. Yeah.
But you need to decide on that first, because if you don't,
yeah,
it's not going to give it to you.
I love where this conversation went. Well, look, Ashley, as we get kind of to the end of the, I don't know if we have too many questions on it, or on the actual interview, but is there any last words that you kind of want to leave off to the audience? Anything that you want to, let, the people know in the community who want to, become a storyteller, or, is there anything that you would kind of recommend even to your younger self?
I would say, actually, you know what? I think what I did, my younger self, I did all the things that I would tell anyone to do. And it's a matter of starting, and that might look very different for every single person. For me, I was like painfully afraid of even having a one-on-one conversation with someone. Like that's how scary speaking was for me. For me, I was having all of these conversations in my head, in my own brain. So it might look like starting to have conversations one-on-one with people. And once you get more comfortable with that, then you kind of like, okay, what's the next step? Like, what's the next scary piece? And you're like stretching and stretching and stretching your comfort zone. When, again, through like network marketing and Vima, I was like, oh, I'm going to become like an inspirational speaker. Like, that's going to be my thing. What did I do? I used Facebook as my platform.
Mm.
I didn't wait for a stage to be able to actually share.
Mm.
Recording a video of yourself is you telling a story. Yeah. The more that you do that, the better you'll get. Mm-hmm. And the more refined that you'll be in your speaking. Because what it might sound like, and I think this is what we're so scared of, is going on this like tangent and it not making sense. Mm-hmm. And prepare, right? Like, what's your message? Kind of write it down before you kind of jump, record something, post it. Like, don't think about it. Mm-hmm. It's the imperfect action that's going to take you further and further. Imperfect action is much better than no action. Mm-hmm.
And yeah, sorry to cut you off, but like, I understand, right? If you want to land your dream job, if you want to land that dream partner, if you want to grow that business, if you want to have the confidence in yourself to speak under pressure, it stems from knowing how to like be a really good storyteller and give things in detail. Mm-hmm. So I hope you guys are really getting this. This is something that you really want to learn and start taking the action. Start like going up to a stranger, start telling a story to one person, move to 2, move to 5, move to 10. And then before you know it, you'll have your own book published and you'll be working with Ashely-Ann. So Ashely-Ann, is there any last words that you want to give to the audience?
You got to do it. You got to like overcome the voice in your head that's saying whatever it's saying. It might be like, who cares? All this stuff. Like, if it matters to you, it matters. Your story matters. Our stories all matter. No matter how big, no matter how small, they all matter. It's important for you to share it because we need it. Like, we really do need more stories out in the world. And whoever it is that's watching this right now, like, we need your story.
Love that. Ashley, thank you so much. If they want to get in contact with you, or if they want to follow you for tips and whatnot, where's the best place for them to go?
Yeah, Instagram is my favorite place. So I have the Studio Press, which is obviously the agency, but then also my own personal is AshelyAnn Speaks.
Cool. You can put that in the comments section down below. Ashley, thank you so much. Appreciate all the knowledge, all the wisdom, and your dedication to becoming the best version of you to inspire others. So Ashley, thank you so much. And I hope we can do this again. Peace.
Bye.